Joseph couldn't hold himself in any longer, keeping up a front before all his attendants. He cried out, "Leave! Clear out! Everyone leave!" So there was no one with Joseph when he identified himself to his brothers. But his sobbing was so violent that the Egyptians couldn't help but hear him. The news was soon reported to Pharaoh's palace. Joseph spoke to his brothers. "I am Joseph. Is my father really still alive?" But his brothers couldn't say a word. They were speechless. They couldn't believe what they were hearing and seeing. "Come closer to me," Joseph said to his brothers. They came closer. "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. But don't feel badly. Don't blame yourselves for selling me. God was behind it. God sent me here ahead of you to save lives." There has been a famine in the land now for 2 years. The famine will continue for 5 more years, neither plowing nor harvesting. God sent me on ahead to pave the way and make sure there was a remnant in the land to save your lives in an amazing act of deliverance. So you see, it wasn't you who sent me here, but God. He set me in place as a father to Pharaoh, put me in charge of his personal affairs, and made me ruler of all Egypt. Hurry back to my father. Tell him, your son Joseph says, I'm master of all of Egypt. Come as fast as you can and join me here. I'll give you a place to live in Goshen. Let's see. I'll give you a place to live in Goshen where you'll be close to me. You, your children, your grandchildren, your flocks, your herds, and anything else you can think of. I'll take care of you there completely. There are still 5 more years of famine ahead. I'll make sure all your needs are taken care of, you and everyone connected with you. You won't want for a thing. Look at me. You can see for yourselves, and my brother Benjamin can see for himself that it's me, my own mouth, telling you all this. Tell my father all about the high position I hold in Egypt. Tell him everything you've seen here. But don't take all day. Hurry up and get my father down here." Then Joseph threw himself on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. He then kissed all his brothers and wept over them. Only then were his brothers able to talk with him. The story was reported in Pharaoh's palace. Joseph's brothers have come. It was good news to Pharaoh and all who worked with him. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers, this is the plan. Load up your pack animals, go to Canaan, get your father and your families, and bring them back here. I'll settle you on the best land in Egypt. You'll live off the fat of the land. Also, tell them this. Here's what I want you to do. Take wagons from Egypt to carry your little ones and your wives, and load up your father and come back. Don't worry about having to leave things behind. The best in all of Egypt will be yours." And they did just that, the sons of Israel. Joseph gave them the wagons that Pharaoh had promised and food for the trip. He outfitted all the brothers in brand new clothes, but he gave Benjamin 300 pieces of silver and several suits of clothes. He sent his father these gifts: 10 donkeys loaded with Egypt's best products, and another 10 donkeys loaded with grain and bread, provisions for his father's journey back. Then he sent his brothers off. As they left, he told them, "Take it easy on the journey. Try to get along with each other." They left Egypt and went back to their father Jacob in Canaan. When they told him, "Joseph is still alive, and he's the ruler over the whole land of Egypt," he went numb. He couldn't believe his ears. But the more they talked, telling him everything that Joseph had told them, and when he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to carry him back, the blood started to flow again. Their father Jacob's spirit revived. Israel said, "I've heard enough. My son Joseph is still alive. I've got to go and see him before I die." So Israel set out on the journey with everything he owned. He arrived at Beersheba and worshipped, offering sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. God spoke to Israel in a vision that night. "Jacob, Jacob." "Yes," he said, "I'm listening." God said, "I am the God of your father. Don't be afraid of going down to Egypt. I'm going to make you a great nation there. I'll go with you down to Egypt. I'll also bring you back here. And when you die, Joseph will be with you. With his own hand, he'll close your eyes." Then Jacob left Beersheba. Israel's sons loaded their father and their little ones and their wives on the wagons Pharaoh had sent to carry him. They arrived in Egypt with the livestock and the wealth they had accumulated in Canaan. Jacob brought everyone in his family with him, sons and grandsons, daughters and granddaughters, everyone. These are the names of the Israelites, Jacob and his descendants who went to Egypt. Reuben, Jacob's firstborn. Reuben's sons, Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. Simeon's sons, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. Levi's sons, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Judah's sons, Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. And Onan had already died in the land of Canaan. The sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. Issachar's sons, Tola, Pua, Jashub, and Shimron. Zebulun's sons, Sered, Elon, and Jaleel. These are the sons that Leah bore to Jacob in Paddan Aram. There was also his daughter Dinah. Altogether, sons and daughters, they numbered 33. Gad's sons, Zephon, Haggai, Shuni, Esbon, Eri, Arodi, and Ereli. Asher's sons, Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, and Beriah. Also their sister Sarah. And Beriah's sons, Heber and Malchiel. These are the children that Zilpah, the maid that Laban gave to his daughter Leah, bore to Jacob, 16 of them. The sons of Jacob's wife Rachel were Joseph and Benjamin. Joseph was the father of 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, from his marriage to Asenath, daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. They were born to him in Egypt. Benjamin's sons were Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Muppim, Huppim, and Ard. These are the children born to Jacob through Rachel, 14. Dan's sons, Dan's son, Hushim. Naphtali's sons, Jaziel, Guni, Jezer, and Shillem. These are the children born to Jacob through Bilhah, the maid Laban had given to his daughter Rachel. 7. Summing up all those who went down to Egypt with Jacob, his own children, not counting his sons' wives, numbered 66, counting in the 2 sons born to Joseph in Egypt, the members of Jacob's family who ended up in Egypt, numbered 70. Jacob sent Judah on ahead to get directions to Goshen from Joseph. When they got to Goshen, Joseph gave orders for his chariot and went to Goshen to meet his father Israel. The moment Joseph saw him, he threw himself on his neck and wept. He wept a long time. Israel said to Joseph, "I'm ready to die. I've looked into your face. You are indeed alive." Joseph then spoke to his brothers and his father's family. "I'll go and tell Pharaoh, my brothers and my father's family, all of whom lived in Canaan, have come to me. The men are shepherds. They've always made their living by raising livestock, and they brought their flocks and herds with them, along with everything else they own. When Pharaoh calls you in and asks what kind of work you do, tell him, your servants have always kept livestock for as long as we can remember, we and our parents also. That way he'll let you stay apart in the area of Goshen, for Egyptians look down on anyone who is a shepherd." Joseph went to Pharaoh and told him, "My father and brothers, with their flocks and herds and everything they own, have come from Canaan. Right now they are in Goshen." He had taken 5 of his brothers with him and introduced them to Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked them, "What kind of work do you do?" "Your servants are shepherds, the same as our fathers were. We have come to this country to find a new place to live. There is no pasture for our flocks in Canaan. The famine has been very bad there. Please, would you let your servants settle in the region of Goshen?" Pharaoh looked at Joseph. So your father and brothers have arrived, a reunion. Egypt welcomes them. Settle your father and brothers on the choicest land. Yes, give them Goshen. And if you know any among them that are especially good at their work, put them in charge of my own livestock." Next, Joseph brought his father Jacob in and introduced him to Pharaoh. Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked Jacob, "How old are you?" Jacob answered Pharaoh, "The years of my sojourning are 130, a short and hard life, and not nearly as long as my ancestors were given." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh and left. Joseph settled his father and brothers in Egypt, made them proud owners of choice land. It was the region of Ramses, that is, Goshen, just as Pharaoh had ordered. Joseph took good care of them, his father and brothers and all his his father and brothers and all his father's family, right down to the smallest baby. He made sure they had plenty of everything. The time eventually came when there was no food anywhere. The famine was very bad. Egypt and Canaan alike were devastated by the famine. Joseph collected all the money that was to be found in Egypt and Canaan to pay for the distribution of food. He banked the money in Pharaoh's palace. When the money from Egypt and Canaan had run out, the Egyptians came to Joseph. "Food! Give us food! Are you going to watch us die right in front of you? The money is all gone." Joseph said, "Bring your livestock. I'll trade you food for livestock since your money's run out." So they brought Joseph their livestock. He traded them food for their horses, sheep, cattle, and donkeys. He got them through that year in exchange for all their livestock. When that year was over, the next year rolled around, and they were back, saying, Master, it's no secret to you that we're broke. Our money's gone, and we've traded you all our livestock. We've nothing left to barter with but our bodies and our farms. What use are our bodies and our land if we stand here and starve to death right in front of you? Trade us food for our bodies and our land. We'll be slaves to Pharaoh and give up our land. All we ask is seed for survival, just enough to live on and keep the farms alive. So Joseph bought up all the farms in Egypt for Pharaoh. Every Egyptian sold his land. The famine was that bad. That's how Pharaoh ended up owning all the land, and the people ended up slaves. Joseph reduced the people to slavery from one end of Egypt to the other. Joseph made an exception for the priests. He didn't buy their land because they received a fixed salary from Pharaoh and were able to live off of that salary, so they didn't need to sell their land. Joseph then announced to the people, Here's how things stand. I've bought you and your land for Pharaoh. In exchange, I'm giving you seed so you can plant the ground. When the crops are harvested, you must give a fifth to Pharaoh and keep 4/5 for yourselves, for seed for yourselves and your families. You're going to be able to feed your children. They said, You've saved our lives. Master, we're grateful and glad to be slaves to Pharaoh. Joseph decreed a land law in Egypt that is still in effect. A fifth goes to Pharaoh. Only the priests' lands were not owned by Pharaoh. And so Israel settled down in Egypt in the region of Goshen. They acquired property and flourished. They became a large company of people. Jacob lived in Egypt for 17 years. In all, he lived 147 years. When the time came for Israel to die, he called his son Joseph and said, Do me this favor. Put your hand under my thigh, a sign that you're loyal and true to me to the end. Don't bury me in Egypt. When I lie down with my fathers, carry me out of Egypt and bury me alongside them. I will, he said. I'll do what you've asked. Israel said, Promise me. Joseph promised. Israel bowed his head in submission and gratitude from his bed. Sometime after this conversation, Joseph was told, Your father is ill. He took his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and went to Jacob. When Jacob was told, Your son Joseph has come, he roused himself and sat up in bed. Jacob said to Joseph, The strong God appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me. He said, I'm going to make you prosperous and numerous, turn you into a congregation of tribes, and I'll turn this land over to your children coming after you as a permanent inheritance. I'm adopting your 2 sons who were born to you here in Egypt before I joined you. They have equal status with Reuben and Simeon, but any children born after them are yours. They will come after their brothers in matters of inheritance. I want it this way because, as I was returning from Paddan, your mother Rachel, to my deep sorrow, died as we were on our way through Canaan, when we were only a short distance from Ephrath, now called Bethlehem. Just then Jacob noticed Joseph's sons and said, Who are these? Joseph told his father, These are my sons whom God gave to me in this place. Bring them to me, he said, so I can bless them. Israel's eyesight was poor from old age. He was nearly blind. So Joseph brought them up close. Old Israel kissed and embraced them, and then said to Joseph, I never expected to see your face again, and now God has let me see your children as well. Joseph took them from Israel's knees and bowed respectfully, his face to the ground. Then Joseph took the two boys, Ephraim with his right hand, setting him to Israel's left, and Manasseh with his left hand, setting him to Israel's right, and stood them before him. But Israel crossed his arms and put his right hand on the head of Ephraim, who was the younger, and his left hand on the head of Manasseh, the firstborn. Then he blessed them. The God before whom walked my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, the God who has been my shepherd all my life long to this very day, the angel who delivered me from every evil, bless the boys. May my name be echoed in their lives, and the names of Abraham and Isaac, my fathers, and may they grow, covering the earth with their children. When Joseph saw that his father had placed his right hand on Ephraim's head, he thought he had made a mistake. So he took hold of his father's hand to move it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's, saying, That's the wrong head, Father. The other one is the firstborn. Place your right hand on his head. But his father wouldn't do it. He said, I know, my son, but I know what I'm doing. He also will develop into a people, and he also will be great. But his younger brother will be even greater, and his descendants will enrich nations. Then he blessed them both. Israel will use your names to give blessings. May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. In that, he made it explicit. He put Ephraim ahead of Manasseh. Israel then said to Joseph, I'm about to die. God be with you and give you safe passage back to the land of your fathers. As for me, I'm presenting you as the first among your brothers, the ridge of land I took from the Amorites with my sword and bow. Jacob called his sons and said, Gather around. I want to tell you what you can expect in the days to come. Come together. Listen, sons of Jacob. Listen to Israel, your father. Reuben, you're my firstborn, my strength, first proof of my manhood, at the top in honor and at the top in power. But like a bucket of water spilled, you'll be at the top no more, because you climbed into your father's marriage bed, mounting that couch, and you defiled it. Simeon and Levi are two of a kind, ready to fight at the drop of a hat. I don't want anything to do with their vendettas, want no part in their bitter feuds. They kill men in fits of temper, slash oxen on a whim. A curse on their uncontrolled anger, on their indiscriminate wrath. I'll throw them out with the trash. I'll shred and scatter them like confetti throughout Israel. You, Judah, your brothers will praise you, your fingers on your enemy's throat, while your brothers honor you. You're a lion's cub, Judah, home fresh from the kill, my son. Look at him, crouched like a lion, king of beasts, Who dares mess with him? The scepter shall not leave Judah. He'll keep a firm grip on the command staff until the ultimate ruler comes and the nations obey him. He'll tie up his donkey to the grapevine, his purebred prize to a sturdy branch. He will wash his shirt in wine and his cloak in the blood of grapes. His eyes will be darker than wine, his teeth whiter than milk. Zebulun settles down on the seashore. He's a safe harbor for ships, right alongside Sidon. Issachar is one tough donkey crouching between the corrals. When he saw how good the place was, how pleasant the country, he gave up his freedom and went to work as a slave. Dan will handle matters of justice for his people. He will hold his own just fine among the tribes of Israel. Dan is only a small snake in the grass, a lethal serpent in ambush by the road when he strikes a horse in the heel and brings its huge rider crashing down. I wait in hope for your salvation, God. Gad will be attacked by bandits, but he will trip them up. Asher will become famous for rich foods, candies, and sweets fit for kings. Naphtali is a deer running free that gives birth to lovely fawns. Joseph is a wild donkey by a spring, spirited donkeys on a hill. The archers with malice attacked, shooting their hate-tipped arrows, but he held steady under fire, his bow firm, his arms limber, with the backing of the champion of Jacob, the shepherd, the rock of Israel. The God of your father, may he help you, and may the strong God, may he give you his blessings, blessings tumbling out of the skies, blessings bursting up from the earth, blessings of breasts and womb. May the blessings of your father exceed the blessings of the ancient mountains, surpass the delights of the eternal hills. May they rest on the head of Joseph, on the brow of the one consecrated among his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. All morning he gorges on his kill. At evening divides up what's left over. All these are the tribes of Israel, the 12 tribes. And this is what their father said to them as he blessed them, blessing each one with his own special farewell blessing. Then he instructed them, I am about to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave which is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, the cave in the field of Machpelah, facing Mamre in the land of Canaan, the field Abraham bought from Ephron the Hittite for a burial plot. Abraham and his wife Sarah were buried there. Isaac and his wife Rebekah were buried there. I also buried Leah there. There's some kind of person hammering something. I don't know what it is. You could probably hear this in the background. I'm going to start to overhear. Then he instructed them, I am about to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave which is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, the cave in the field of Machpelah facing Mamre in the land of Canaan, the field Abraham bought from Ephron the Hittite for a burial plot. Abraham and his wife Sarah were buried there. Isaac and his wife Rebekah were buried there. I also buried Leah there. The field and the cave were bought from the Hittites. Jacob finished instructing his sons. pulling his feet into bed, breathed his last, and was gathered to his people. I'm going to read that again. I think I read it wrong. Jacob finished instructing his sons, pulled his feet into bed, breathed his last, and was gathered to his people. Joseph threw himself on his father, wept over him, and kissed him. Joseph then instructed the physicians in his employ to embalm his father. The physicians embalmed Israel. The embalming took 40 days, the period required for embalming. There was public mourning by the Egyptians for 70 days. When the period of mourning was completed, Joseph petitioned Pharaoh's court. If you have reason to think kindly of me, present Pharaoh with my request. My father made me swear, saying, I am ready to die. Bury me in the grave plot that I prepared for myself in the land of Canaan. Please give me leave to go up and bury my father. Then I'll come back. Pharaoh said, Certainly. Go and bury your father as he made you promise under oath. So Joseph left to bury his father, and all the high-ranking officials from Pharaoh's court went with him, all the dignitaries of Egypt, joining Joseph's family, his brothers and his father's family. Their children and flocks and herds were left in Goshen. Chariots and horsemen accompanied them. It was a huge funeral procession. This really is bothering me, this hammering. Anyway, arriving at the Atad threshing floor just across the Jordan River, they stopped for a period of mourning, letting their grief out in loud and lengthy lament. For 7 days, Joseph engaged in these funeral rites for his father. When the Canaanites who lived in that area saw the grief being poured out at the Atad threshing floor, they said, Look how deeply the Egyptians are mourning. That is how the site at the Jordan got the name Abel Mizraim, Egyptian lament. Let me just read that again. When the Canaanites who lived in that area saw the grief being poured out at the Atad threshing floor, they said, quote, Look how deeply the Egyptians are mourning, unquote. That is how the site at the Jordan got the name Abel Mizraim, Egyptian lament. Jacob's sons continued to carry out his instructions to the letter. They took him on into Canaan and buried him in the cave in the field of Machpelah facing Mamre, the field that Abraham had bought as a burial plot from Ephron the Hittite. After burying his father, Joseph went back to Egypt. All his brothers who had come with him to bury his father returned with him. After the funeral, Joseph's brothers talked among themselves. What if Joseph is carrying a grudge and decides to pay us back for all the wrong we did him? So they sent Joseph a message. Before his death, your father gave this command. Tell Joseph, forgive your brother's sin, all that wrongdoing. They did treat you very badly. Will you do it? Will you forgive the sins of the servants of your father's God? When Joseph received their message, he wept. Then the brothers went in person to him, threw themselves on the ground before him, and said, We'll be your slaves. Joseph replied, Don't be afraid. Do I act for God? Don't you see? You planned evil against me, but God used those same plans for my good. As you see all around you right now, life for many people. Easy now. You have nothing to fear. I'll take care of you and your children. He reassured them. speaking with them heart to heart. Joseph continued to live in Egypt with his father's family. Joseph lived 110 years. He lived to see Ephraim's sons into the third generation. The sons of Machir, Manasseh's son, were also recognized as Joseph's. At the end, Joseph said to his brothers, "I am ready to die. God will most certainly pay you a visit and take you out of this land and back to the land he so solemnly promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." Then Joseph made the sons of Israel promise under oath, "When God makes his visitation, make sure you take my bones with you as you leave here." Joseph died at the age of 110 years. They embalmed him and placed him in a coffin in Egypt.